I will also try to tell us why we need to have a literature review. We'll try to look at the types of literature review. We'll also look at steps that will guide us in writing a good literature review. We'll try to also conclude this aspect. 1, introduction, the first section. Literature review, as we all know, which I will abbreviate in the course of this lecture as LRO, is a survey of scholarship sources of a specific subject matter. I don't want to use the word topic because of yesterday's lecture by Professor Hilary. Topics should always come after you have finished the work. So we talk about subject or specific subject matter. Literature review provides an overview of current knowledge, allowing us to identify relevant theory, method, and gap in existing research. Literature review are important resources for every scientist, especially if you want to become a good researcher. They provide us with historical content of a field while offering us opinion on the future trend. If we create literature review, good one for that matter, it can also give us inspiration about research. If you read what people have done, at times I sit down in my room, I begin to read people's work, I begin to get inspiration of what I can do. Literature review can also enable us perfect our writing skill. You see the way people write, you see people present their case, it will improve your writing skill as a researcher. No wonder at times I see professors, when they write, when I was in undergraduate program, I see a professor write, I will say, does this guy come from heaven? He will just write a sentence, it will be clear. Me, I will be struggling to make sentence, but I didn't know it is because of what they've been reading over the years. However, I want to state here that few scientists are trained, or permit me to use the word, it's only few scientists that have the required skill on how to write a literature review. What I mean in this context is a literature review that is an excellent one. Writing a literature review involves finding relevant publications. That is what it involves. You find relevant publications such as book, journal articles. It enables us to critically analyze them. You sit down, you begin to look at them. What are these persons that have written this book or journal publication done? It enables you to begin to explain what you have found in those publications you have read. A good literature review don't just summarize sources. What a good literature review is what I itemize as follows. 1, a good literature review analyzes. A good literature review analyzes. A good literature review scrutinizes. A good literature review investigates. A good literature review examines. Can we tell everybody to at least break down the background?
Let's mute every other person except the speaker.
As I was saying, a good literature review, you know, I said initially it's an overview, like a summary of what you have read in people's publication. But I am again telling us that a literature review don't just come about only just to summarize the sources. No, a good literature review also does the following. 1, it analyzes. If you want to use the word scrutinize, you will not be far from the truth. It investigates, it examines, it studies, it considers, or it asks questions. When you read what you begin to ask, why did Kingsley do this? Why did George do this? Why did our director decide to organize this training? If you do a good literature review, such questions will come into your mind. Again, a literature review will enable us to synthesize. Permit me to use the word manufacture if we go to the management science. It will enable us to create. It will enable us to produce, to generate, to blend, fuse, or combine facts. Literature review will enable us to critically evaluate so as to give us a clear picture of the state of knowledge of a particular subject matter, as the case may be. The question comes, Why do we need literature review? This is one thing you have to ask yourself. When you write a thesis, like our student we have here, our MSc student, around this center is trained to train postgraduate students on MSc and PhD. When you write your thesis or what you call dissertation, or you write a research or a research paper, you have to conduct a literature review to situate, or what I will use to set or to position your research within existing knowledge. Literature review will give you a chance to do the following. One, it will enable you to demonstrate your familiarity with the subject matter and scholarly content, or what I will call, I want to borrow from Professor Hilary's talk, background. A good literature review will enable you to familiarize yourself with the subject matter vis-a-vis the background of what you are doing. A good literature review will also enable you to develop a theoretical framework or methodology, what we call in scientific science, material and method for your research. A good literature review will enable you to position yourself in relation to other researchers. You'll be able to stand. You have read what they have done. You have discovered why they do it. You cannot stand with them. You cannot relate with them, other researchers and theories. You cannot relate with them because you have seen what they do, you know how they do it, and you know why they did it. A literature review will show us how research addresses gap. That is one area we emphasize. How research addresses gap and contribute to a certain debate. There are many debates on ground. Environmental issue everywhere. What are the causes of environmental issue? Industrial and population. You see, if you do a good literature review on environmental influence, you begin to see the gap. What people have done to solve this problem, industrialization and high population, in vis-a-vis environmental issue. You now begin to contribute because of what you have read. You now begin to contribute to the subject matter. You now say, okay, environmental issue is caused by industry. They are our problem. No, environmental issue is caused by industrialization, high population. Environmental issue is even caused by us because of the way we now handle issue. I continue. When you might also have to write a literature review as a standalone paper. I will look at types of literature review. You decide to say, okay, let me write a standard. Somebody asked a question yesterday. I wanted to contribute, but it's like my meeting system did not work well. How will I publish TB paper as a PhD student? Let me tell you the secret. One thing you have to do before you start, my project supervisor, then my PhD work, told me, before you start this area you say you want to work on, go and do a good literature review, and it must be published in High Impact Factor Journal. It's one paper. It will even give you understanding. A standalone paper. You want to do a research work, you are writing your thesis, you have designed the focus, not the topic here too. You have designed, this is the area I want to work on. You have agreed with your supervisors. This is the area I want to work. If you do a good literature review, you can have one paper. In this case, if you are doing a standalone literature review as a standalone, in this case, the purpose is to evaluate the current state of research and demonstrate your knowledge to scholarship debate around that subject matter. That is what you are doing. This content the content of literature review will look slightly different in each case, depending on what you are doing. But the purpose of conducting a literature review almost follow the same step. That's one thing I want to tell you. You might want to do a literature review in a research work. You want to do a literature review as a paper that will be published. Dr. Larry told us yesterday, if you want to get latest results, don't be reading people's result work. Look for a good literature review that somebody has published as a paper. Read that work, you will see everybody's work there. Literature review will enable us to follow. They follow almost the same trend, the same step. They might be little different, little deviation. There are people who have read different. You see it. Writing a literature review is particularly important skill. You as a postgraduate student, we as a researchers must strive to have if we must make significant progress in our research. That is the truth of it. Writing a research topic, writing everything is important as literature review, because literature review will enable you to get the gap. What do I want to do? I want to work in this area, environmental issue. Presently, my team, we are working on using nanomaterial to solve environmental problems. We have done a lot of literature review that has enabled us to look at what people have done. Then we now know the direction we move. Let's look at some types of literature review. As I said in my slide, basically, the types of literature review you write will depend on discipline. The type of literature you write will depend on discipline. Which discipline are you? The way management science write their literature review might have slightly different. The way science, even scientists will bring sciences back, the way physical science will write will be different with the way biological science will write, depending on your discipline. And again, another factor that will determine the type of your literature is whether that literature review is a literature review for your project work, like our student now, your research work, or a literature review for a research paper, or a standalone literature review. You decide to say, okay, I have this idea in my mind. Let me look at what people have done so that I can contribute my knowledge. However, according to Grant and Boone's 2019, they identified the following major types of literature review. They talked about systematic literature review. What does this kind of literature review do? It tries to seek to systematically search for, appraise, and synthesize research evidence in order to aid decision making and determine the best practice. That is a systematic review. We have done a lot of kind of systematic review of recent. Systematic review can also vary in their approach. Take note, systematic review might vary in their approach and are often specific to the type of study. Example, you want to do a study on the effectiveness, the quantitative research, economic evaluation, just to mention a few. We also have another kind of literature review they will call the rapid literature review. This kind of literature review tries to assess what is known about an issue by using a systematic review method to search and appraise research and determine also the best practice. They have what you call scoping literature review. This kind of literature review enables us to search for potential scope of the literature review of the research literature on a particular topic. They enable us, this scoping, you now talk about the scope from the word scope, English word. They help to determine the gap in the research. That is the specific function of this scoping research. If I am you, I will underline this scoping research. It will be very important for us, for students, because what we want to do is to look at gap in research. We have what you call the traditional literature review, or what you call the narrative. A generic literature review, another word you can call is a generic literature review, identify and review published literature on a topic or a subject matter, which may be broad, very wide, very broad. You want to look at environmental issues. You begin to talk about climate. Environmental issues are 3 categories now. You begin to look at atmospheric environmental issue, terrestrial environmental issue, aquatic environmental issues. These are broad environment. If you even go to the terrestrial environmental issues, you cannot deal with them. So these are broad. The approach you will apply to do a literature review on this kind of review is what we call a kind of generic literature review, or what you permit me to use a narrative, or what they call the traditional method of literature review, which may be very broad, typically employ a narrative approach to reporting the reviews in finding. They can conclude a wide range of several subject matter. Look at the diagram we have here that try to look at this type of literature review. I didn't talk about critical approach topic literature review. I personally believe because it is not a popular kind of literature review. It can come in. You can critically do a narrative literature review. You can critically also do a scoping literature review. You can critically also look at rapid literature review. And you can also critically look at systematic literature review. Let's look at this diagram. In terms of their speed, look at the parameters I use. In terms of their speed, comprehensiveness. We take narrative literature in terms of speed, is a dependent on the research area. Narrative is too wide. How can you say you want to do a literature review on entire environment? I know it will be very broad. That is why I say it depends on the research area. You as a researcher will need to, at the end, as Professor Hilary said yesterday, you move from the bigger one, you come slowly, you are going from the worldwide, global, you move down, you come to regional, you move down, you come to Nigeria, you stop in Abuja. That's where I want to work on. Small. Then you not concentrate on Abuja. You look, if you go to that narrative literature review, you find out that the method you will use, no method particularly you want to employ. No method, because it's too wide. You have to design your own method. If you talk about their risk bias, it has a very big risk bias because you are looking at too many things. Then when you look at the comprehensiveness, what is the comprehensiveness of this literature review? Normally, it depends on the author. If you are very good, you can still have a comprehensive review even when you are doing a narrative and literature review. If you look at the critical one, you find the rest. They follow the same trend. They move downward. You see that my arrow, if you do a critical approach on a particular topic or research interest, you find out that in terms of the speed is rapid, very fast. You just want to finish critical. The one, you don't pick it, the critical one. You just pick the most important one. You just look at it. It has fewer methods, few methods. The risk also increase because you are not looking at the holistic one. You are looking at a critical one, just a small part. Like COVID-19, everybody is looking at COVID-19. Nobody is talking about every other thing. Nobody wants to talk about every other disease. Somebody was telling me the other day that nobody wants to look at malaria. People are still dying of malaria, but everybody is now concentrating on the critical review on COVID-19. You see, the terms of comprehensiveness possibly incomplete. That is what the research has said, that a critically appraised literature review is possibly incomplete. Then when you think about the scoping, you just follow it. They move down the train to systematic review. Look at systematic review, which I feel they call it at times meta-analysis. It's a very slow type. It has its more explicit method. It gives you more explicit. The risk here is decreased. There's no risk bias. And when you talk about comprehensiveness, you find out in a meta-analysis literature review is very comprehensive. I would beg to stop in other types of literature review so that we don't concentrate on the types of literature review, which actually is not our key area for this topic today. Let's try and see if we can look at the steps of writing a literature review. If I call a literature review in this time, they are literature review, they are good literature review, they are excellent literature review. The steps I analyze there are steps that will enable us to write a good, or permit me to use an excellent literature review. I have identified 5 steps in the course of preparing for this lecture and with the little experience I have. And the steps are one. Step 1, I will explain this. Step 1 is to search for relevant literature. How do you search for relevant literature? We shall be looking at that shortly. Step 2 is to evaluate your sources. How will you evaluate your sources? How will you analyze your sources? How will you, manipulate your source? Let me use the mathematical language. How will you manipulate your source? Step 3 is to identify the theme, debate, and gap. Very essential. Step 3, to enable, because the most important part of a literature review is for you to identify a theme, debate, so that you can draw a gap. You can fill in the gap. Step 4, you now begin to outline the structure of your literature review. Step 5, you begin to write your literature review. Let's take step 1 first. Step 1, search for literature, search for relevant literature. Before you begin to search for literature, you need to clearly define the subject matter or the focus of your research. I thank God for Professor Hilary yesterday. He tried to tell us how you will focus on your subject matter. You look at the keywords, you bring them out. What am I doing? I want to look at environmental issue as it relates to so thing. You just put that down. You begin to bring out the keywords. From the keyword, you must identify your area. What do I want to do? What do I want to do? How am I going to do this? By the time you define your subject matter or your focus, that is the first thing you do. If you are writing a literature review section in your thesis or a research paper, you are writing it in your thesis or a research paper. There are 2 kinds I want us to look at separately. You are writing a literature review that will be part of your thesis or part of your research, or we can take that as team 1. You are writing a literature review as a separate one. I just want to do a literature review of this so that it can be published. We can take that as team 2. So if we are talking about team 1 now, the one in our thesis and the one in our research paper, you will need to search for literature related to your research problem and question. Professor Hilary says something about research problem. But one thing I like about his lecture yesterday, we don't ask the question the way management people ask. I brought a work, they bring some work for me. Somebody will say the following are the research question. 1. No, your research question as a scientist should be technical inside your work. What do I want to do? And how do I want to do it? Those will form your research question. If you are writing a literature review as a standalone paper, that is in 2 now, you will have to choose a focus and develop a central question to direct your search. You develop a central question to direct your search. Unlike a thesis research question, this question has to be answerable. This without collecting original data. This question need to be answerable without collecting the message. You have answers to them. You should be able to answer it based on a literature review of existing publication. Okay, I want to look at problem. Professor Hilary has done this. Professor Abaniyi has done this. Professor Juna has done this. Our director have done this. Yes, this is what they have done. My own, I will combine Hilary's own and Professor Abaniyi's own. You are beginning to ask yourself questions even without starting the work. Yeah, this is what Hilary do. These are his conditions in the study. This is the other person's own. Yes, I want to do a separate one. Nobody has combined Hilary's own and this. If I not combine that two, add a little of Hilary's own, do a this. That's what you call model. You begin to model your own factor out of it. That is the first thing you will do. Literature review question, for example. What is the, for example, you ask, you must develop literature review questions. There are questions, research questions you must ask yourself. What is the impact of heavy metal on the environment? These are questions I've been asking myself, and presently I find myself doing a lot of work on heavy metal and that as it relates to environmental affluence from industrial waste. Step 1, continue. Search for relevant sources. That's what I said before. You must use relevant keywords. Professor Hilary told us about the keyword. My lecture was like, I prepared this slide yesterday. When Professor Hilary was saying, I said, God, thank you. Did Professor Hilary saw my slide? How did he know things I was supposed to labor to explain? Thank God he's a renowned researcher. He already knows the question because it's the first before the second. You must get relevant keywords. And he has told us how to look for keywords to begin your search. Use useful database. There are a lot of databases that you use. The popular one, you can use a university library catalog, which I know is not common in Nigeria because we can't pay for it. At times when I see some useful paper I want to download, because I don't have access to it, I send to my friends in UK and South Africa or Indonesia to download for me because they have a good university library catalog, which they pay for every paper, you can download it. Though we have some trick presently, that is cheating, that we can download some paper, but it does not download all papers. That we can download any paper, even when that paper is not an open access paper. But the best way you can search for paper is to use Google Scholar. Google Scholar will have all paper. Almost all important journals are indexed in Google Scholar. Though it's not actually the best, you have the one for Scopus and all those ones. But Google Scholar will enable us to look at it. For the medical people, they use the MedLab. They also use it. You can also use a Bolam operator. Let me bring him. We are all scientists here. We are computer scientists, so we should be. You combine 2 words to help you narrow your search. Because at times when your search are too broad, you can't get what you want. You can now narrow your source. Every metal is wide. Can I work on every metal? No. I've only worked on few heavy metal, especially chromosis, copper 2, just the popular few ones. Fluorine, iron. I've worked on just few heavy metals. I cannot narrow myself. Every metal is too broad. Do I want to work? Which one is the most popular? Which one is the most deadly? Which one? I now begin to narrow myself. You can use this Bola operator to narrow your search, like you can use AND to find sources that contain more than 1 keyword. Like you can use social media and body image. You can combine 2 words. Or you use the word "all" to find sources that contain more than one of a range of synonyms. Then you now begin to, for example, you want to use teenager. It's not giving you now use teenager or adolescent. These are synonyms, they are very close. Or you use not. The word, the Bola operator not can also be useful. This will enable us to exclude some results containing some terms. For example, you want to look at apple. It can be telling you different things. You tell them apple, not fruit. Because apple will give you different things. You have apple on phone, you have apple on food. You now tell the apple I'm looking for is the target, it's not fruit. It will narrow your search. Apple, not fruit. What you do, the next step you do in searching for relevant literature is to read the abstract. To find out whether an article is relevant to your question. You know, Professor Larry said things about abstract yesterday. He said 3 key things about an abstract. I will just summarize it. It might not use the same word I use. He talked about an abstract will give you the statement of problem vis-a-vis what you want to do, background of the study. An abstract will give you the method that you have adopted in your research work. An abstract will also give you your result, possibly 3 major aspects: background, result, background, method, and result. That is what an abstract will give you. So if you have a good article that is published by a good publisher, that work will contain all these things. At times, when I pick some journal, I first of all read the abstract. When I discover that I found something useful to what I want to do, I keep that one. I number it 1. I keep it on that file, number 1 for this work. You can read the abstract. When you find a useful book or article, when you read the abstract, you cannot check the kind of bibliography. What are the references in this abstract? If, you know, at times I pick up a book, I read the abstract, I go to the references. What is the citation? I begin to see relevant topics, because Hilary said something yesterday, yeah, your topic says your work. If you go to those indexing half, it is your topic of your work that will be there, not the abstract. If you are searching, is the topic. So the topic says your work. The topic will enable you to know. When you see the topic, yeah, this topic is close to what I will. You can also use that to find for relevant literature. You can also identify the most important publication in your topic. Take note of recurring citation. If you begin to read some work, this person cited, you see the same related work, somebody else cited, you don't need prophet to tell you that work has given good results. If the same authors of book or article keep appearing in your reading, make sure you seek out for them. Step 2, evaluate your sources. It is not possible to read absolutely everything that has been written on the topic. It's not possible. Professor Hilary will tell you it is not possible. He will agree with me. Your director here will agree with me it's not possible. You will die before your time if you try it. What you need to do, you will have to evaluate which sources are most relevant to the problem or question you want to solve. You have to evaluate. You have to evaluate. And I have carefully identified areas that will enable you to identify. For each publication, you must be sincere to yourself. You ask yourself this question if you are doing a literature review. What question or problem is this author addressing? You can see it in the work if you are sincere from the abstract. What is this guy actually doing? What does he want to do? What are the key concepts and how are they defined in his work? Number 2, you must ask yourself this question. What are the key theories and core theories? What are the models and methods that was adopted for this study? Are they updated methods? Are they methods that will cause more problems even when I want to solve environmental problem? Does the research use established framework or take an innovative approach? These are questions you ask yourself that will enable you to know if you are evaluating your source. What are the results and conclusions of this study? What is this person now saying? After all these many equations, I tell my students this morning, you see, I was proving a theory. I begin to tell them, you see this theory, all these things are bastard. The implication of it is what I want you to know. Leave all those bastards, all those equations. Professor Larry is an engineer. They will tell you we cram a lot of equations, a lot of theory. But the question is, what is the implications of these jargons? You call them jargons if you are not in our field, but we that are in physical science, we enjoy it. What is the implication to an information scientist that wants to use it for his research? All these equations you have been stating, the probability you have been stating, all the theories. What are the implications? How does the publication relate to literature in the same field? Is there any connection with what the idea I have for so work? You begin to ask yourself, does it confirm, add to, or challenge established knowledge? There are some work. Does this work I'm reading now, this method this person does it confirm what A has done? Does it add to it? Does it challenge it? How does the publication contribute to your understanding of the topic, of your topic? What are the key insights? The key insight. Where is this research going? What is the trend? What are the arguments inside this research? What are the strengths that will enable you to determine the strength and weakness of every research work? Step 2, Make sure the sources you use are credible. You must ensure they are credible. That's why I always tell any team we are working with, let's try and cite good papers. Because pediatric journal will just put a work, they publish. They just want to pay money, you publish. But if you have papers in standard journal, that journal without messy words, before a good publisher like Elsevier in our field, Elsevier, you call Springer Nature, Taylor and Francis. Before a journal that is in Taylor and Francis, you see a paper there, you know that paper has passed through rigorous peer review process. So that paper is credible. Don't just pick a paper online, you feel, this paper is related to my work, I want to cite it. You meet yourself in a potential way. You cause more problem for yourself. Make sure you read, and make sure you read any landmark study and major theory in your field of research. Any landmark theory that explodes. You know, theory, we want to run away for it. I will just see the calculation, we want to run. How does this theory come? No, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that one. Okay, just tell me what I want to do. This one, this mathematics you are bringing in, this theory. No. If you want to succeed in that research, you must basically look at the theories. How did they come about? You find out how many times an article has been cited in Google Scholar. That was so happy. We are going to do citation as we progress. You see, how does Google Scholar, how many times has this paper been cited? This paper has been published since 2 years. You see over 100 citations. Don't look for profit. Know that work is good. The scope of your review will depend on your topic and discipline. I've said that. In sciences, let me be specific now. You usually only review recent literature. Professor Hillary helped us yesterday. Don't go and be citing 1942. I don't say you don't use them, but they should be minimal inside your work. But in humanitarian science, social science, they want to cite 1952, the theory will not change. No, but in sciences, we try to look at innovative work. We are not condemning anybody's work, but people would have done improvement to what Kingsley did in 1972. Take note of the following when you cite your source. You have to read. You should also begin the writing process, jotting. Take note that you can later incorporate inside your literature review. As you are reading any important thing, you just copy it. I always copy, I paste, and put in one place. I title it. Then if you check a folder, anything I'm doing, I have different folder. We have computer science, you put it there. It is important to keep track of your sources with citation to avoid plagiarism. We shall come to plagiarism. I think Madam was telling me this afternoon, you will talk on plagiarism. We will talk about that. And to avoid plagiarism, the first speaker yesterday talked about research misconduct, which are threefold: fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. It can be helpful to make you do a kind of good referencing. Make sure you use citation generator. There are different citation generators like the APA, the IML, the IEEE, there are many. And at the end, I beg you, always check for your plagiarism. Let's go to step 3. You identify the theme, the gap, and the debate and the gap. This is very important because that is the key area of your literature review. To begin organizing your literature review argument and structure, you need to understand the connection. Permit me to use, or I combine them, the connection and relationship between the source you have read. The sources, all the sources you have read. What is the connection between A and B? Do they have any relationship? You begin to identify. Based on your reading and the notes you have written down, you can look for the following. 1, the train, or what I would call the pattern. In theories, method, and result. What has been the train? In 1972, before they started using this banana material, what were they using before to remove heavy metal from water? What were they using? You begin to ask yourself that question. A good literature, this will enable you understand the train. In the theory, method have been using, if you are doing environmental approaches, become more or less popular over time. You ask yourself that question. Are this method getting archaic? Do they still use it? You are going to see. The theme. What question or concept occur across the literature you have done? What are the questions, the basic questions that occur? Debate, conflict, and contradictions. These are what you do. You now begin to ask yourself, where do sources disagree? You must be sincere with yourself. All literature review must not agree. You state it down. There are always debate, argument in research. Somebody will tell you this method is better than this. He has his reason for even when it's wrong. Pick it up and begin to look at where these sources disagree. Pivotal publications. Are there any influential theory?
Hello, presenter.
Yes, ma'am.
Our DVC is here.
Okay, ma'am.
I just think maybe she should just say hello before she leaves.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Deputy Vice Chancellor, Technology, Innovation and Research, Professor Moni Olani. Please, Professor Olani, can you come up?
Director, faculty and students, good evening. From my end, I guess some of the students, it will be afternoon or evening also. It's my pleasure to be here. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stay for so long. I congratulate you again on your fresh admission for those that are new and those that are advanced on their studies for this training that you are commencing, because it's an important activity for academics. We always say, publish or perish. And these days, publication has advanced to the extent that we expect you to be global, to have global recognition. And so if you are able to get your work published in high impact journal, it gives you the opportunity to be cited readily by peers and to also become relevant in your professional field. Oftentimes, you don't know the opportunities that come to you when you take the advantage of using resources that are available to you. I want to encourage you to put in your best to learn as much as you could from this training and to also be guided by the instructions that you are receiving. I wish you all the best and look forward to a time where we'll be able to cite the publications from Estelle from all over the world. Director, Professor Grace Joktan, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I think I see also Professor Fule there, Dr. Onwadi, and all others. I thank you for all your efforts and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, our DBC. We are grateful that you have the time to be here with us. This is an indication of the support the university is giving towards the success of this center. And I hope the students that are here also understand that a lot is being put together to ensure that you do well and that you have a good story to tell of the National Open University of Nigeria. Thank you for being here, DBC.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, my
Hello, Director.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If I'm not mistaken, I can see the VC also.
You mean it?
Yes.
Okay. Our VC, sir. All right, VC, are you here? Thank you for coming.
I am not supposed to talk, but I'm just to listen.
But you can just say good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Good evening, sir.
Nice. Yeah.
Good evening,
I've listened to this is the third slide I've been listening to now, and I think it's very good. And I wish all the students will take heed to some of the advices the facilitator is giving us. And I think it's very nice. And I want to thank Estelle for being up to scratch in the mandate that the university has given them. And I'm very proud of them. And I know that the students, by the time they finish in their programs, they also will have every reason to be thankful that they went through the National Open University of Nigeria. I wish you successful trainings throughout this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That's the Vice Chancellor of the National Open University of Nigeria, Professor Olufemi Peters. Thank you for being here, sir. Okay, can we go on?
Yes, I'll quickly go. Thank you, my VC, Professor Peters. It's my pleasure having you tonight. Thank you, sir. God bless you, sir, for all the good work. And I continue. I said we have to look at pivotal publications. The questions that will come to our mind when we want to look at pivotal complications, are there any influential theory or study that have changed the direction as the field continue to progress? You see the train of telecommunication. If we go to information, you see the train. Those days we want to go, they will begin to turn telephone, we'll queue. We want to talk to somebody about, they'll say the person want to call by 5 p.m. They will be there by 3, waiting. The phone will ring, they will do it. So you see the train. I taught telecommunication for PhD computer science. You see the train. We're looking at the historical background of telecommunication. You see the train. What has changed? What has caused this change? Then that will enable us to talk about the essential aspect, which is to fill a gap. What is missing from literature? If you want to sincerely fill a gap, you must come with this question, and you must give yourself a sincere question. What is missing from literature? Are there weaknesses that needs to be addressed? Those are where you look at. When you do literature review, you don't condemn anybody's work. You look at what you try to do is a method that will improve what people have done in the past. Are there weaknesses that need to be addressed? By the time you ask yourself this question, when you have read what people have done, you will begin to fill a gap. Yes, so he did this. Hey, in the past, they said a plant can remove wastewater, remove heavy metal from wastewater. Plant, leaf, you begin to pluck all the leaf. If you now continue to pluck the leaf, and those plants are also useful to the environment, we eat them, they contribute to the ecosystem, either through their transpiration and others. The plant at a time, because they know, they will remove all the plants. The question we now ask ourselves now, we don't want to use all those plants. We know they can remove heavy metal or they can reduce the toxicity of heavy metals. What we do is to look at waste product of those plants that we don't eat. Maybe the shell. What we did recently is to use watermelon, the bark. People don't eat it. Changery, we peel the bark that people don't eat. We begin to, since this plant has the train, can we now use the waste product to talk about everything? Because we have seen literature, what people have done, and we begin to see fault in them. Yes, nanotechnology is the train. We want to use plant to solve problems. Are we going to remove plant to the extent to solve environmental problem? We no longer have plant to feed. We don't have a plant that will contribute to the transpiration of the ecosystem, the carbon cycle. These are questions we ask. We now begin to fill the gap. What will we now use? These agricultural plants, forestry plants, they are useful, but we are not going to use them. Let's concentrate on their waste product. It's the new trend now. This step will help you work out the structure of your literature review, if applicable. Show how your own research will contribute to existing knowledge by identifying this gap that could be addressed in your own research. I dwell too much on the gap. Let me go, because of my time factor, let me go to the fourth step, which is to outline the structure of your literature review. There are various approaches to organizing the body of a literature review. You should have a rough idea of the strategy before you start writing. You must have a rough idea of the strategy you are going to adopt in writing literature. We look at the various types of literature and we try to look at the advantages and disadvantages. You begin, which style will I now adopt? Depending on the length of your literature review, you can combine several different strategies. For example, if you want to look at the overall structure, you might decide to say, okay, let me use the schematic approach. or you begin to, but each theme to discuss it chronically or sequentially. These are terms, these are what will enable you arrange your structure. There are two basic aspects that will enable you arrange this. It is actually, there are different aspects. You look at the chronicle aspect of it. Dr. Larry was saying something yesterday. You move from maybe global, you come to national, you come to local. I read one of his papers, I was amazed. He tried to do something in a particular village in Delta State. Larry was so wise. He titled the paper, The Whole of Delta State. He now went to put the town towards the end. When you see that word, you think it's the whole of Niger Delta. He was working on a particular village in Niger Delta. Because if he has said that he wants to do a work in like my village, Ogwa, people will flick that work up. Nobody will publish that work in where he published that work in a very high impact journal, Q1 journal. You start. You must start from the simplest approach to trace the development of the subject matter over time. However, if you choose this strategy, be careful. Each strategy you are using, be careful, because each strategy has its own limit and dislimit. Be careful to avoid simple listing and summarizing source in others. We will come to that. Try to analyze the pattern, turning point, and key debates that are shaping the direction of that field. Give your own interpretation, Matthew. Don't quote anybody. You read a particular, Kingsley have used this method. You sit down and understand that method. You now sit down as if you want to use your own idea to describe Kingsley method. That is the best way you can avoid plagiarism. We'll come to that. Give your own interpretation on how and why certain development occur. Your own interpretation, because you have not read it, you understand it. Let's look at the schematic aspect. If you have found some recurring central theme, you can organize your literature review into subsections that addresses different aspects of that subject matter. Methodologically, if you draw your source from different disciplines or different fields that use variety of research methods, you might want to compare the result and conclusion that emerges from these different aspects. I give an example here. If you look at what result has emerged in quantitative versus quantitative, people want to do quantitative research. Some people did qualitative. Do you want to compare the result from these two different experimental approaches to do research? Again, another example is discuss the subject matter. No, discuss how the subject matter has been approached by empirical method. People want to do research, they do empirical method or they do theoretical aspect. In physics, we do experimental and theory. The theory result people have done, people that have passed through theory, the theories, or people that we have experimental physics, we have theoretical physics. Is at their result coming to result? Are you going to compare these two scholars together? Divide the literature into different sections. You have sociological aspect of your literature, you have historical aspect, you have cultural, you have different aspects of your literature review. You divide them. Let's look at the theoretical aspect of it. A literature review is often the foundation of a theoretical framework. It's actually the foundation of any theoretical framework. You can use it to discuss various theory, model, and definition of the key concepts. You might want to hold for relevance of a specific theoretical approach or combine various theoretical concepts to create a framework of your research. That's what I said before. A, I've done this. B, I've done this. Do I want to go with A? No. Do I want to go with B? No. Can I combine the two? No. Can I bring out some factor from A and bring out some factor of it and get my own? It's a way forward. Step 5. You now begin to write your literature review. And this is how you write your literature review. Like every other academic test, your literature review also has these 3 aspects. Your literature review has an introduction. Your literature review has the major body. Your literature review, irrespective of the kind of literature review, your literature review must have these 3 components: the introduction, the main body, and the conclusion. What you include in each section depends on the objective of your literature review. Let's look at the introduction vis-a-vis literature review. Professor Larry gave us a picture of how an introduction in a general work would look like. Literature is in a general work. Literature is a subsection now, a subset. Literature himself also has his own introduction. The introduction should clearly.
Dr. Okarabo.
Yeah.
Time conscious a bit.
Okay, yes. I'm on my time. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Literature review should clearly establish the focus and purpose of your research. Because of time factor, we have talked about the introduction yesterday. Like the major introduction in your work, your literature review should also follow those steps. A literature review, the body of a literature review will depend on the length of the literature review. You might want to divide the body into subsections. You can also use the subheading for each theme, time period, or methodological approach. Let's look at the conclusion of your literature review. In the conclusion, you should summarize the key findings. That is where you come in. The conclusion of your literature review is all, you summarize the key findings you have taken from the literature review and emphasize their significance. If the literature review is a part of a thesis, like our students, you want to do a literature review because you are working on a particular area, which is basically the chapter 2 of your work, in most cases, you should show how your research addresses the gap and contribute to new knowledge, or discusses how you have drawn an existing theory and method to build a framework for your research. Because of time factor, I want to conclude. Maybe in the course of answering questions, we'll talk some other things we could not touch. The essence of a good literature review is to prove that with the numerous literature available in various databases that has already been published, your contribution is still different. Your contribution is still different. It's unique. Also, you have to emphasize on the gap that is existing and how your contribution will help to cover such gaps. Supposedly, everything in life starts with a beginning. So a good literature review will also start with a beginning. Don't just jump today. You say you want to be a perfect literature review. You want to write a perfect literature. You must start from beginning. Primary 1 before you go to SS1. SS1 before you go to university. That is stage. You go as you write, you begin to build yourself. That's why I say you must proceed as you go forward with time and experience. As stated earlier, writing literature review is a particularly important skill if you want to make significant progress with your research. The question I want us to ask ourselves, and I want all of us to be sincere, can we now write a literature review on a choosing research focus as a standalone paper or as a part of our thesis? I want to thank the management of Open University, especially the VC that is here with us, Professor Peter Olufemi. I thank you, sir, for attending to our lecture. I want to thank the DVC also. I want to thank the director and management of the Africa Center for Excellence and Technology Enhanced Learning. I want to thank every lecturer, every student that have listened to me. I appreciate you and I pray that God will bless us richly. I greet you in French. Merci beaucoup. My name is Kingsley. God bless us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Kingsley. Dr. Kingsley Korabo, we really appreciate you. Please, can we give him a round of applause for a wonderful presentation? That was a great one. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I know that our students really appreciate you for this highly scholarly work. Thank you very much. Yes, we have had Dr. Okurebo on Dr. Kingsley Okurebo. We have had his presentation on literature review, and he did such a wonderful work. He showed us why literature review. He looked at types of literature review, systematic review, rapid review, scoping review, traditional review. And he went on to tell us that the literature review enables us to do analysis, synthesis, developing our reports and papers. And in concluding, he was able to tell us the essence of writing good literature review is to prove with numerous literature that has already been published. He also showed us that it allows us to emphasize the gaps that are existing and how your contribution helps to cover them. He went on to ask, just in wrapping up, can we actually write a literature review on a chosen research focus as a standalone paper or thesis? Well, without wasting much time, we want to throw the floor open now to those of us that have questions for Dr. Okurebo. So the floor is open now for as many that ask questions on this presentation on literature review. Please, once again, I'd like you to bear with my voice. I think I ate too much crab over the weekend. So the floor is open. I can see. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, we are with
Yes,
you.
I can see some participants have raised their hands already. I can see Muyudin Bello. Muyudin Bello, you can ask your question. Please, I'll
Okay.
take it in the order I have here on my system. I see Muyudin Bello, followed by Babangida Laden, and then Grace Egenti. So Muyudin Bello, please, let's take your question.
All right. Thank you very much, the presenter. I really gained a lot from what you have presented tonight. Well, these are my questions. Number one, you talk about the different types of literature review: systematic, rapid, scoping, and traditional. A question is, what will you advise is the ideal? Is it to align with a particular type, such as scoping, or a kind of hybrid, or a combination of one or two or three, or all of them? What is the best approach? That's my question there. And then my second question has to do with the age of the sources. If what we want to research upon has gone far, is it right, or how much of the how much of the old sources do we go back to, or we just ignore old sources and be looking for the latest, or let's say from 2019 in a particular subject matter? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello, Dr. Kingsley.
Okay, sir, we'll take them one. I should answer this before I go to the next one.
How will you rather take it one at a
Depending
time?
on what the moderator, sorry, I didn't acknowledge you. I really appreciate you, Dr. Gregory. I appreciate you. Depending, you are the moderator, you should give us direction, sir.
All right. I would rather we take like 3 questions.
Then
That
you
is
can answer.
questions from 3 participants. If you can jot down. Then when we're finished with the first set of 3, we go for another set of 3, so as to be able to manage our time more effectively.
Okay, thank you,
So
Dr. Gregory.
I hope that is okay by you, sir.
Yes, sir, I'm very fine with it, sir.
Okay, so please help us jot the questions.
Yes.
So when we do the first 3, we go for the next 3 again. So like I said, the next person here on my list, I can see Grace Egenti now. So Grace Egenti, you can take your question.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone, my directors. And my question is just an observation. In the course of downloading materials for my research work, I observed, or I noticed, that about 75% of the articles I downloaded were saying almost the same thing. Almost the same thing. At a point, I had to lay them on the table. About 15, 16 of them were saying basically the same thing. So it actually got me worried. Does that mean that they were not moderated? Because they were from different authors, but they are saying basically almost everything is the same. So I don't know how you throw more light on that. And then in writing the literature review, are there specific formats that students should follow? For instance, there are some supervisors who want you to tabulate your findings. Maybe you have serial number, the name of the author, the year, their results, methodology, and the rest. Or is it just proper for you to write all of them just as a single text? That is one. Then yesterday, Professor Hillary talked about the minimum or maximum number of words. For instance, for introduction, he mentioned, say, between 500 and 1,000 words. So I'm asking for the literature review. Do we have something like that? Do we have the maximum number of pages that you should write when you're writing the literature review? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Thank you, Ms. Egenti. The next person is Shegun Dairo. Shegun Dairo will take your question now. Mr. Shegun Dairo.
Good evening, moderator and the speaker and all protocol observed. My question is actually very simple. If your research is in a novel area, which is just an emerging field, and when you search for papers, these papers, maybe they are 2021, some are 2020. The citation, how do you rank them in terms of relevance? Because most of them are new papers. Some of them may not have been cited. So how will you now, how do you choose the paper to use for your project, for your assignment? Thank you very much.
Okay, sir. Over to you now. We have the first three. So
thank you very much. I think I jotted it. Sorry if I didn't take your citation very well, because I want to know we're in an academic environment, we respect people, but I'll first just call your name so that I don't misplace citations. Bello, pardon me, you're a doctor, just pardon me, but I just want to call your first name. Bello, you asked the types. What are the ID types of literature review? You see, I tried to look at two categories of literature review. If you go back to my slide, I tried to say literature review, we can put them in two categories, depending on what you want to do. Literature review can be on two categories. If you look at it, I think basically the types of literature review you want to write depend on the discipline, and whether the two things will determine the kinds of literature you want to write. The discipline you are working on whether the literature review is a part of a research work you want to publish, is a part of a thesis you are writing, or is a stand-alone literature review. By the time you answer that question, it will guide you on the way you do your literature review. That will now lead you to the different types of literature review. You said which one is more suitable, depending on what you want to do. But in most cases, you see my diagram, you see what I did. Systematic literature review seems to be the best. The speed might be slow because you have a lot of work to do. It gives you more explicit method. There's a decrease in the risk bias, and it's also very comprehensive. I don't know if I've answered that question. Then question 2, how much old sources and book you look for from new ones? I think you were asking about the sources are old and are new. But if I want to go, we are going to look at references. In sciences, I try to tell us that we try to look at new literature review. How much old citation you need to cite. Actually, there are some citations. I did a work recently with a professor in Egypt. He's the director. We met online. We did one research work. He cited a work of 1952. I asked him, Prof, why did you cite that work? He said, yes, Kingsley, what we are looking at, Hillary said something yesterday. It must be recent. The recent one should be around 60 to 70% within the 5 years. If it's 4, that does not mean they are not theories. Like I am presently working on the kinetics of studying the movement of this molecule. You see those people that did it the first time, at times I still want to respect them and cite 1972 work, but they should be at minimum. Try to cite recent one that has modified those work. That's what you will do. Recent one. Look for new ones that have worked on those areas. You must see. Somebody would have said this. Hey, Professor Larry said something. If you didn't see, look at the best thing you do. Look at somebody that have done an holistic review in that area. That person would have touched that area. Cite that person. Say, according to review study of this, he said this method is the best. That review work will solve your problem. I don't know if I've answered that question. Then on Grace's question, you said almost when you were looking for sources, you were finding almost the same paper, almost the same result in the paper you are doing. I said that is one, depending on the source of your paper anyway, but if you have used different sources, you are finding the same result, you should know that method is actually the training method. The question you ask yourself, why do people use this method? Why are all the results turning to one direction? Can I do a different thing to still get the same result? This you already, from your questions, you are doing a good literature review. You are getting almost the same result from everybody. This one is saying this method you use, this one is from different sources. Yes, that method is the training method, is the chassis. It's what people want to do. Everybody wants to publish in the COVID-19 work. I say if I don't publish one, I will not be fine. I also did a review work on COVID-19 as it relates to climate change, vis-a-vis climate change. And I published it in the KU1 journal. And that is the trend. If I don't publish in COVID-19, COVID-19 is running this period I didn't publish, I'm loser. So what you do in this case is to look for, if those trends, these results are tying the same direction, you cannot ask your question, why? The why will be giving you, as you are sleeping in the mind, your mind will be telling you why. Why? Can I not do a different one? Why are they using this method? That is to say, this method has proven true. Why are they using this? You are not far from the truth. And if you are sincere with yourself, your mind will begin to build. You begin to get an inspiration, because that is the first thing. Inspiration is not only when God speaks to you. God might not come. People, scientists you have seen, they've done different things. They might just be sleeping, thinking what our DVC have done. DVC said this thing. Why did he say this thing? You don't jump up, say, yes, you wake up, I have gotten it. What is the best format you need to follow? Yes, when I wanted to do my PhD work, my supervisor called me. I have not heard. Immediately after my master, I was too far from research. I was a book person. He called me and said, Kingsley, you want to work on this area? Go and do a literature review, scholarship article of about 100. I don't know how they do it. He didn't tell me. He said, this one is PhD, this one is not master. My friend, leave my office. I think, God help me, I met a colleague who is from Futa. I told him, I want to do literature. I'm confused. I was reading, putting it in different stages. He said, hey, there's a format they use in Futa. They taught them. The guy bought a table. You see the title. You see the author's name. You see what they have done. One line. Depending on what your supervisor. When I took it, I did 100. It was about less than 5 pages. I sent it to my supervisor. When he saw the first one, the title of the work, the author, what they did, how they did it, why they did it, all the questions I need to ask were just in one line. He saw it, the limitation, where they did not do, what I feel we can do to improve this work. He saw it, he said, Kingsley, who taught you this method? Where did you get this from? Immediately, he told me we are going to work on this area. You have passed the first test. So depending on what your supervisor wants, but that will not constitute, there's always a pattern to writing literature review in your thesis. There's a pattern to write a literature review in your research work. There's a pattern to write a literature review in your literature. Assuming you want to do an holistic literature review that will stand on its own, maximum words you will use. Let me give you a secret. I think you see, if you check recent research trend, if you are doing a research work, you will not see anywhere they will use again a section separately for literature review. Professor Ilabi is here, quote me. You will not see. Presently, in none of my work, I will not design a section separately for literature review. My literature review will be my background of study. It might not be too much. I will share some of my work with you. It might not be too much. All I need to say, this is the problem. You begin to talk. The environmental influence as a result of industrial issues and population growth has been a subject of debate for several researchers. Put 1 or 2 citations. If you want to include it, environmental influence as it relates to atmospheric issue, people who have worked at atmospheric, you put 2. Aquatic, you put 2. Terrestrial, you put 2. You have made a broad statement. However, I've tried to find a solution to this. This is how he did it. You quote, you put their citation. This is what this person did. In your introduction, you're already using literature review. That is a research work. That is the new trend now. In these days, you see a literature review, they'll say introduction, you still go back, you see one literature review. Recently, Gaza University, a KU3 journal. I said, let me just send a work, there's a university-based journal. The reviewer reviewed it. He said, I should separate my introduction. I replied in the reviewer and said, my man, Prof, I don't know who's reviewing this work. My train of research is that my literature review, the way we design the work is the literature review is incorporated inside the introduction. That's where we start. So, but if it's a thesis, you cannot begin to look at the literature review. Actually, your introduction, you don't need to talk too much. You might use close to 500 words to talk about the literature review because you have identified the problem, what people have done. You now can say, hence, you have identified a gap. Hence, nobody has done this thing in Abuja. Therefore, this study, you see the research question is coming. This study trying to work specifically in Abuja because those results people are getting, the environmental factor in Lagos is different from the one in Abuja. Hence, I want to concentrate in Abuja in this method. I will be using this method because from literature review, this method seems to be the best. Your literature review is inside. Your 1,000 words, as Professor Hilary said, everything is still inside. It's a research work. But if it's an holistic review, you need to divide sections. That's what I was saying. You need to define, did not allow us to look at it. If it's a thesis, you already have a format that in our side here, chapter 2 is for literature review. You do all the literature review on different sections and you begin to write. That is that for that. For Shegun, novel areas, you have new literature review. Yes, novel areas. But you must also look for, if you feel the novel area, you don't have too many literature review. What I will advise here, Professor Hilary is here, they are my senior colleague, they can also throw light if I cannot answer you properly. You feel these things are new. You go back. How did they adopt this new one? It's coming from somewhere. Go back. It's coming from somewhere. They are not using the latest you use to remove any metal and dye from waste is bioabsorbent. Is it bioabsorbent they were using before? The answer is no. Why bioabsorbent now? You go back. Can I use something apart from bioabsorbent? Even if they use bioabsorbent, must they use this method? Presently, I use the hydration method, a method nobody have used to remove copper from water. It's bioabsorbent, but I have to use the hydration method, which people have not used before, to remove, even when I'm using another material, I use the hydration method, and I got a good result. And that work is published in a Q1 journal, in a Springer journal. So if new, it's better you have new literature review, but you must go back to history. Where are these things coming from? Then you stay to your questions. I don't know if it's from my end. Can somebody speak so that I will know it's not from my end? Okay, Gregory is back now. From Gregory, Dr. Gregory, can you please?
Okay, yes, thank you so much. Hello?
I can hear you now, Dr. Gregory.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Karebo. Thank you for those answers. I want to believe that those that asked the questions have really satiated or okay. I have 4 hands that are still raised up. I don't want to break them into a set of 3 and 1. So please permit me. I want to lump the 4 together and we close it there. I hope that is okay. So, Dr. Hello, can you hear me still?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I want to just lump the 4 outstanding. We'll take them and then we close the question and answer section. So the first person here is Ogudeyinde Isaac Adeyinka. Let's hear your question. Mr. Ogudeyinde Adeyinka.
I can hear. Man, is it my from my end? Yeah, I can hear you now, Dr. Gregory.
Okay. Can I suppose, Mr. Adeyinka, can you hear me? All right, so let's go to Abdul Bello. Mr. Abdul Bello.
Bello, can you take your question?
Can you ask your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, please go ahead.
Good evening, sirs. Good evening, the Center Director. My question is a follow-up to the question asked by Grace Agenti. To avoid the kind of situation she encountered regarding most of the materials she has, and they are almost talking about the same thing, where can we get relevant and high-quality materials for our research? Is it through the general just open search engines, or is it through Google Scholar? Or there are some sites that requires membership for one to be able to have access to high quality journals for our research. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bello. I copy that.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Hello, can I say something? Before we go to the next person, that's Mr. Kalu Igu, I'd like to say, just do a quick response to the follow-up question Mr. Bello raised regarding what Mrs. Agenti also observed. If I heard it correctly, you were saying some of your course materials have similarities, right?
No, some of the research materials.
Oh, okay. Okay, fine. So let's go to Kalu Igu now.
Okay, Kalu.
Kalu Igu.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank Dr. Kingsley for a work well done. Then I want to ask, most often when we are writing literature review, we used to come across two very important concepts. That is conceptual framework and theoretical framework. What are the differences between the two? And these two concepts, are they important in every research work, in every literature review you have to write? Must they be included? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So the next person is Mustafa Mohammed Nuhu.
Hello, good evening, moderator, and good evening, presenter. Thank you so much for the presentation. So my question is like this. After listening to the orientation lectures, we were advised to immediately start our project, the thesis, right after we were assigned supervisors. So my concern here is we barely understand these courses and the concept of most of these questions, fields, and we are trying to understand it. So now my concern is if we go ahead and choose a topic and start working on it while we barely understand the whole field, don't you think like probably while in the later time we get to understand it, and then we get to find out there is other field that we understand better or that we can contribute better, and then we already started working on this one. So I want to ask, when is the right time do you think we should start selecting the topic and start working on the project? So this is my question. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Nuhu.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please. Who is that?
Mr. Ogunde Isaac. Yes,
please,
sir.
I'll come to you. I notice you're on. I'll come to you. Let's take
okay, sir.
Mr. Awad.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Gregory, and those who have asked questions, Bello, Kalu, and Mustafa. I'll take it from the
Dr. Kerebo, please. Let's just take the last two so that you wrap up everything.
Okay.
Mr. Yunusa Hassan, are you there?
Hello, sir. Okay, good evening, sir.
Yes.
Okay, please, my question goes here. Most, maybe let's say during the thesis on cybersecurity, I'm a cybersecurity newly admitted student on MSc. Most of, I've done some research on it. Most of the thesis work that you do, you see that you need a privacy permission from either a website or a company. For example, now let's say you want to do a research on issue of bank hacking in banks. This is one of the things that is trending now. Most of our bank accounts have been hacked one way or the other, and most of the customers, you see them, they are so reluctant. They don't have any things to do. Maybe sometimes you even visit the bank in front of you, the hackers is there hacking your bank, and the bank cannot do anything. And in the process of your thesis, if you want to do a research on that, the bank may not permit you to access their softwares and the other items that they used, so that you can be able to give an insight or a better solution pertaining that particular problem. Then how do you go about it? If you have an interest and you pick a topic that concerns that particular aspect. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Denka, quickly, please.
Yes, so let Isaac ask his question. Isaac,
thank you, sir. Yes, sir. My question has to do with the step 1 in writing a literature review. The step 1 is search for relevant literature. And in doing that, you mentioned research questions. So my question is, how do we come up with a good strategy that can be adopted for preparing a good research question in order to aid our research work? Thank you.
Okay.
Strategy. Okay,
Thank you very much.
First. I take your question first. Isaac, I said the moderators will allow you to talk, to ask your questions so that we can smile today.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much for those who have asked questions. Isaac, I will answer your question first. How do we come up with a good strategy to have our research question? Professor Larry was bringing us some strategy. You don't need to choose a topic first. I repeat, if you want to do a research work, his topic is almost towards the last. Professor Larry is still here. You have professors here. You have an area. You might have a skeletal topic. That's true. But you will not define your topic until when you are getting your results.
Okay.
He gave us steps we can take. With time, as the research is going, you now begin to see the topics that will suit what you are doing. So the best strategy is to look at the holistic area you are working on. I want to work on this area, cybersecurity as it affects bank. You have a focus. You have a subject matter. This is what you want to do. The professor says, let's do literature review. You now begin to see gap. This person have done this. This person have done this. So I want to narrow my attention to this area. How to even catch these people. That's what I now begin to narrow your topic to suit your professor Larry strategy. You get what you want. Then Hassan, you ask limitations of data. Especially is very important. I did my master thesis in telecommunication. Getting data for NPN to work was difficult more than farm work. After getting that data, because I got it through the back door, when I was defending, my external examiner said, why am I always using the word a well-known communication provider in Nigeria? That is not good for a research work. The panel of us smile. I say, oh God, I'm too young to go to jail. And I don't want to let somebody lose his job. Everybody smile, we joke. The supervisor called me, we were not joking. Getting data is one of the limitations. If you feel you cannot get relevant data, it is better you back up on that area. Look for research area that you can get suitable data to work. Don't put yourself in areas where you now begin to find yourself in tight corner, like what I find myself in tight corner when I was doing my MSc work. I actually used MTN, but somebody gave me those data through backdoor. I was doing part loss, trying to look at where the pattern they use, different model that I was using Koama model, trying to tell them this is the best model. Why are they still using this model in Nigeria? That was my question in my research work. MTN will not want to give you data. Basically, if they know it's for research, they won't tell you it's not for data. They will be giving you one. In my MS, in my PhD also, I also find myself in this data issue. I did a work to measure atmospheric data. I went to NAMET. Do you know up till today, I'm waiting for data from NAMET. I made them, I went to the office, I'm waiting for data. So you see the limitations you will have in getting data, especially when those agencies feel you want to do a research, because your own will bring out new result. They will be scared. Is this guy going to criticize our old method? But in abroad, those things, if somebody should bring a normal model, you will appreciate it. What I tell my students, don't go and put yourself in a tight corner. You now tell me you did not see data. Look for areas you know you can work with. Data will be available. That is why you don't choose your topic, you don't choose your research. When you start the work, you now look for areas, possibilities. Those areas will now narrow you to the area you want to go, and you can do the research. I know stakeholders are here, the VC is here, directors are here. This is a strong constraint to many of us researchers. Renowned institutions, they refuse to give researchers data in Nigeria. It's a problem I have been carrying. I suffered in my master's, I suffered in my PhD. German government, I went to West Africa Center for Climate Change, I went there, data be like water. They will give you. Now you know what you want to use and do. But in Nigeria, yeah, you come to say, come tomorrow, they will post you, or guys not around to sign the paper, or guy, wait, what do you want to use the work for? Are you sure you are not going to condemn all these PhD people you want to come and cause problem? Tomorrow we'll see one paper tomorrow and say what we are doing here is rubbish. They begin to ask you that question. But you, as a researcher, work with your supervisors. You have a broad area, narrow it to your possibilities. You must not do everything. You cannot put that as future scope. Yes, I was supposed to do this area, but because of this constraint, I could not go here. I recommend that future researchers should try and tackle this area. When is the right time to select your topic? Yes, the right time to select your topic is when you have started working. Don't choose your topic before you work. Professor Larry have said that. You have an area you want to work with. That is where you want to do literature. When you have done literature, you see what you want to do, you have started working, your topic will naturally come up. Your topic will just come like offer. This is where your topic will just come. Even you need to change your topic up. If we are doing a review work now, towards the end of the work, that is when we, even a research work, that is when we now agree on the final topic. Topic will begin to change depending on the direction of your result and your research work. So topic specifically, you must not take your topic at the beginning. The earliest time you can take your topic is at the middle of your work, and it's not yet the conclusive topic. Then the other one asks about, Kalu asked a question on the two aspects of literature review, conceptual and theoretical framework. When you are doing that, yes, there are theory backgrounds. At times, I tell you the best way to do a systematic review is to consider the two. Conceptual will tell you some things, some theory. And you know, I was saying something, I was trying to put it because we don't use conceptual in science, basically in physical science. We use theoretical and experimental. Those are the terminology we use. Those in social science, we want to use conceptual and telemetry. I know information science is between management science, try to come into physical science, you are like the bridge. But in science specifically, there are terms we use. Conceptual actually will give you some idea. Theoretical. I asked a question, is there a point where these two will meet? Those who believe on conceptual theory, is there a point where they will meet with the theorists? These are questions you ask yourself. The best way you do a literature review as it regards the two. You do a systematic review. Then reference the relevant reference material. Yes, the best material you use for your literature review are actually good publishers. When they were reading my citations, you hear me measure, not that I don't have journals in other paper, but you hear me measure, I was measuring Elsevier. Professor Larry is here, Elsevier. Quote me anywhere. Elsevier is a publishing house. Elsevier does not have a journal. Elsevier is a publishing house. Any journal that is being published by Elsevier, quote me anywhere, that journal is not substandard journal. Any journal that is being published by Springer Nature, quote me anywhere, that journal is not substandard journal. Any journal that is being published by IEEE Explore is not a fake journal. Any journal that is being published by Taylor and Francis is not a fake journal. I want to come to my feed. Any journal that is being published by IOP Publishing is not a fake journal. Any journal that is being published by ROSC, Royal Society of Chemistry, is not a fake journal. You have standard publisher. By the time you go to their database and get material, my brothers and sisters, without mincing words, you are not getting fake materials. Mind the way you get. When I was saying mind the way you get, don't just pick one mark paper. One guy just wrote something, they didn't review it because you want to pay 20,000 naira to publish your work. Professor Larry was saying something like that. I'm not condemning them anyway. A paper that you will not review, I send the paper to you, you just, in 3 days time, you tell me your paper has been accepted with minor review, no minor review. You look for journals who will critique your work. The essence of reviewing your work is not to condemn your work. At times, presently now, I have a work, I don't want to mention the work, just be rejected. We will not kill ourselves. I have people here we have worked with. We look at the comment and improve on the work. And at times, those good journals, if they review, if they reject your work, they will give you points you will do that will improve your work. So those good publishers, there are many. I will not have time to list them, especially in the area you want to go. Good journals. Don't look for purgative journal anywhere. Look for KU1 journal. There are different working KU2 journal, KU3, KU4. Any journal that is being indexed in Scopus, Tonsilluta, those are good journals. Look for them. They are all relevant. Apart from that, my brother, if the journals are not indexed in this top indexing database, if you see them, run away. Don't use them. Some of them might be good, but we believe they are substandard. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kingsley Ukurebo, for the powerful answers that you've given to our students. I believe many of them are excited, as I've seen someone the chat excited, and they quite appreciate your presentation. We equally appreciate your presentation and the answers to these questions. Thank you so very much. I also see our erudite professor, Dean of PG School, Professor Chinedu Mafiana, among the participants. You're welcome, sir. So with this, once again, Dr. Kingsley, thank you so much. This junction, I'll hand over to the director of Estelle to give our concluding remarks. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Greg, for moderating us so well. Is Dr. Hillary in the house?
Sorry.
Okay. So it means...
I am.
Okay. Please, did you receive any submission from the students?
Yes, I received early enough. I received from 3 students, which I worked on, but some other 2 persons submitted theirs late at about after 6 and after 7 p.m. So those will be treated for tomorrow. But I have reviewed 3. The first 3 that submitted, theirs have been reviewed, and I can give the report here before we close.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So once again, beloved colleagues, I want to welcome us again to a little extension of what we did yesterday. But before I do that, I want to sincerely appreciate the guest speaker for today. The name was looking like a male name, but the voice was a female voice.
I'm your boy, Dr. Larry, I'm your boy, sir.
the name looked like a male name. Why the voice was female? Because my video was not showing you. Thank you so much. Everything you said today is correct as far as I'm concerned. And the information you gave is what we all need. I benefited a lot from it, I must tell you. And I want you to keep it up. That's a very good one. And the way with the mannerism with which you attended to your answers were just perfect. So I will look forward to hearing from you again and again. On that note, I also want to thank the organizers of this program for putting this thing forward. I looked at it when I came in, there were 93 participants, and I said, wow, this is even larger than so many physical classrooms, especially for some of us in engineering that have very few students in the class. Now, let me look at what we did, and then the reports I want to give. Ajayi John Ojo, I don't know if he's here. Ajayi John Ojo.
I'm here, sir.
Okay, so
good evening, sir.
Yes, I may not be able to project it. This thing is in Word, so I don't know if it's projectable. If I can share the slide. Can I share it? Is it shareable? It's in Word.
It should be.
Yes, it is. You can
yes,
share.
I can see. Yes. That I have done. Yes, that I have now done. Okay. So, Well, how do I screw it up if I want to screw it up? Okay, no problem. Let me just go like this. Now, this is Ajayi John Ojo. And then I went through this your work very properly to be able to look at some of the issues therein that may need correction. So if you look at it, I will still send you this thing. You discover that I said the methodology of the study, results and finding have not been well captured in the abstract. This is the only challenge in your abstract. You couldn't tell us because you are working on a systematic analysis of assembled techniques in intrusion detection system. Okay. Now we looked at it. The first paragraph, very okay, giving us a background information of the work you have intended or you intend to do. However, immediately after it, when we are approaching the second paragraph, which ordinarily should be to secure ICT infrastructure for government, individual, organization, posted a great blah, 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 to secure and safeguard. So you've been on, throughout this work, I could not find the methodology with which you are going to do the systematic analysis of assembled techniques in intrusion detection. Then there was also no information about your result, no information about your finding. I want to believe that it is work in progress, that the work is not completed. However, also, even if it is work in progress, there will be need for you to let them know how the result you are going to get may possibly look at. So the first paragraph is okay in the conclusion, but the second paragraph and the third paragraph, you need to work on it. Like when I was talking about abstract yesterday, I said the abstract comprises 3 sections put together. The first paragraph talks about the background of study that you have been able to capture here very well. Then the second paragraph talks about the methodology, the technique, the sampling procedures, and all of those. While the third paragraph now talks about your finding in a very summarized manner, your finding, your results, and then the implication and what you may think of it. So we move on to the other parts of the work. Now, also, the grammar is very poor. If I'm giving this kind of paper, I would get angry with it from the abstract because maybe you wrote it in a hurry just as an assignment. However, when you look at it, it's covered that some verbs and their nouns are not corresponding very properly, and then some past tenses are not properly used also. You know, all of us are very good at English, but sometimes we write in a hurry. And when we write in a hurry like that, and we don't want to go through it over and over again before sending it out, it's because that the editors begin to notice some of these extremely bad English from the abstract, and then that could lead to some emotional situation that may make the work not accepted to go for review. So I went through the introduction, then you also discovered that you were not referencing very properly. Okay, let me give you an example so that you know that it doesn't, if it's falling short of the standard of what we discussed yesterday. Now, look at, okay, I don't know if I can share this particular screen too. Can you see where I am in the introduction?
Yes.
Okay, so if you look at it, I discover that the two paragraphs, more than 6 sentences here, no citation at all. It's only those who, the only way you can write like this when you are writing a novel, or when you are writing English, or when you are writing something for your community. Look at it now, you will see sentence 1, sentence 2, sentence 3, sentence 4, sentence 5, sentence 6, sentence 7, sentence 8. No citation. That's a terrible one. Now we go ahead, you look at it, sentence 9, sentence 10, sentence 11, you go down to the 30th or 40th sentence, no citation before your first citation came. If you even look at that citation that first came, it's fairly okay. 2018, that is even the only work also cited there. This automatically is plagiarism. When you write papers like this and you are now citing up to 1 page, citation, automatically all the information here did not come from the blues into your brain. You read some articles, you listen to some information, and you're able to put up all of this, and you are refused to cite those people. That's plagiarism. So we must learn to cite, and that is also an act of poor writing. That is one of the things that affect the emotion of reviewers and editors that could make them to throw away a good paper, because they know that if somebody could write something already like this without looking at the tenses and then without proper citation, the person may be a horrible scientist. So, and then the structure. When you talk about introduction, you're supposed to see your background of study. From your background of study, we may see the statement of problem, we may see the aim and objectives, we may see the justification, but you just started as if you are writing a textbook. There is no structure at all. Then towards the end again, I began to see structures. And so the work is not properly structured. we must know the standard way of writing chapter 1 in every thesis, or even in a journal article. For instance, when the last speaker was talking to them, she said that we lump the introduction and the literature review now all manuscripts. That's where it's done. But in thesis, there must be structure. The introduction will tell you about the background of study, the aim and objective, statement of problem, justification, and all of those. While in a journal, we made them together. So this one is neither structured to follow the pattern of a thesis, nor the pattern of a journal article. So I say these are the two problems with this work. And you have to rework it by studying the material that I shared yesterday and resend to me. I will also look at it again and tell you the margin of improvement and then what we need to do again if need be. Before I go to the next one,
thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. This is the work in progress. That's why I didn't have results. That's why the result wasn't there, and some other things. It's just a work in progress, sir.
All right. No problem at all. So I hope you are satisfied.
Yes, sir. Yes,
right.
sir.
Thank you so much. So let me go to the second person. I'll be a bit fast. Now we have another one, no name. It was sent to me. The title is Performance Evaluation Comparison of 5G and 4G network using spectral efficiency and signal to interference noise ratio. I don't know who has this particular one. If you're online, can we recognize you?
Yes, sir. I'm the one, sir, Ibrahim.
Oh, thank you very much, Ibrahim. Wonderful. So I looked at your own. My problem began from your title. Let me share it also so that we will be able to see it and then we can analyze it very properly. Just 1 minute. So, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm trying to share this particular one.
Prof, remove the first one first. Remove the first one from your screen.
Okay.
Stop sharing the first one.
Okay. I think it's gone now.
Yes.
So.
Get the new one now.
Yes. So could it be the new one? This is still the old one. I'm yet to see the new one online.
Close the first one.
Remove the first one totally from your screen and now put the new one on your screen.
Okay, I get you now. Okay.
Prof, that's what you do.
Okay. So let me share now. Yes. So we are right there. Can we see the screen now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so my problem began from your title to say performance evaluation comparison of 5G and 4G network using spectral efficiency and signal to interference noise ratio. If you look at that, your last grammar, though I'm not an Englishman, it's somehow not too good. Spectral efficiency and signal to interference noise ratio. It may be correct, but I think sometimes I want my English to be correct for everybody. You understand me? Except it's a technical, except technically you write it this way in your field. By a normal English arrangement, it is not too okay. And so, and editors frown at this because they don't want any typographical error to be on the title, which is very, very important. And like we have given the importance of title yesterday. So if you look at this, that's why when you finish writing your title, you must ensure that the English is as correct as well. We can begin to see minor errors or typographical English errors in the body of the work. But at the level of title, it has to be expressly correct. So that's my first challenge. But the abstract is well written, apart from minor grammatical errors. Well written, the abstract. And if you look at your abstract, the first paragraph gives us a global and local background of what you are talking about. Very, very okay. And then when you look at the second paragraph, you're able to tell us how you are going to do this work. Look at it now, and I read it to us here. You said that this research is therefore aimed at the evaluation of the performance in 5G network in terms of the spectral efficiency and signal to interference noise ratio as compared with the 4th generation. Very okay. You now put that the simulation was done using MATLAB to evaluate the performance indices. Perfect. I know you must have been writing abstract for a very long time. So you look at your third paragraph also, very okay. So apart from minor typographical errors, this your abstract can be rated 80%. Very, very okay for any kind of publication, no matter the ranking of the paper. So then we move on to the very next one.
Prof, on the abstract, paragraphing, it's supposed to be continuous and not split into paragraphs.
Yes, that's quite a basic one. You don't paragraph in abstract, please. Why what you have written is okay. You don't paragraph at all when you're writing abstract. I think I said it yesterday that the abstract comprises 3 sections that are fused together, so that at the end of the day, you can only know the distinction as you read through. So the paragraphing and the typographical errors are the problem there. So if you look at my comment, I say fairly well written, but the English needs a correction. Then we go to your introduction. When you look at your introduction also, you discover that though your first paragraph is okay, you began telling us about wireless network technologies and all of those. But when you look at your first 20 sentences, no paragraph, no citation, rather. No citation. And this could annoy an editor. This could annoy a reviewer. You understand? You can't do this thing. As a matter of fact, when you said wireless network technologies have experienced several exciting innovations and technical advancement in recent years, you have to tell us some recent papers that have studied or that have said something like this, at least 2, because that is a categorical statement. You are making a comparative analysis that between now and before it is better today, that the experience is better. And you are not citing anything to really show us that the experience is better. So that is an issue on its own. Please, can I get water? So now, if you continue, you will discover that a lot of things you have written here and no citation. So let me put that when I went through your introduction, it was also very satisfactory. And if you ask me to score it, I'll score it 58%. I will just remove that 2% so that you don't get a B. You understand, with your first trial, because there are no citations. So,
thank you, sir.
So, they want to plagiarize. So please, I want you to rework this one, make your citations proper and resend to me. I'll look at it again. Because before the end of this workshop, all of us must get it correct. Because remember that we're all students. Even in the course of correcting all these, I also learn myself. So there's nobody who knows it better than any other. However, I want us to have testimonies to show for this workshop. So get it done again. I'm very, very busy tomorrow, but I'll squeeze out 1 hour to go through this work that I've reviewed and any new one that would come. Then we have the third one. Let me unshare this one. Then I will bring the third one. So now this is the third one. It says, investigate, no name also. Please, I don't know who has it. Can you identify yourself?
Yes, sir. Grace against me.
Okay, thank you. You say investigating web content monitoring approaches to control online activities for young persons in Nigeria. The topic is just okay. Investigating web content monitoring approaches to control online activities for young persons in Nigeria. Perfect. You don't have any problem with your title. Now, if you look at what I say, is it an abstract introduction or what? No title. If you look at what you have written now, very long, you continue to talk, no title at all. So no subtitle rather. So I wouldn't know if it is, I didn't know if it was an abstract, and I could also know if it's an introduction. Because when we review papers like this, we review abstract based on the standard for writing abstract. And then we review introduction based on the standard for writing introduction. So one of the problems is that you prepare this work in a hurry, which is not quite too good, even though it's an assignment, because you did not tell us what follows after your title. Now, but if I decide to read it like an abstract, it doesn't look like an abstract at all. So you can assume it to be your introduction, background of study to your introduction. You also see that you are writing and writing and writing and writing without any citation. You are just writing like somebody who is writing a textbook in the olden days time, not even in the modern day generation. So this is a very big issue. Okay, so I think it's really, thank God we are asked to do assignments on this so that we'll be able to appraise ourselves and know how to go again. So this you have written cannot go for introduction at all. First and foremost is that there is no title, no subtitle, no section heading, no subsection heading, and then you are just writing and writing, no citation, you understand me, and no direction. Because I went through it also, you are fusing about 3 things into one. So for this work to be okay, first and foremost, write it as background of study, which shouldn't be more than, if it is for a manuscript publication, it's between 1 and 2 pages for manuscript. But for journal work, it can go between 2 and 5 pages, your background of study. Okay, sometimes 1.5 pages, sometimes 2 pages, but between 2 and 5 pages. So restructure if it's for a thesis. Restructure it if you're a manuscript. Send it to me and follow the tenets of writing introduction, like we said. That the first paragraph is going to tell you a global perspective about the work that you are doing based on what others have done, and then the local perspective. Having given the local perspective, the global perspective, and the local perspective, the next thing now is you begin to tell us what previous researchers have done in this regard. Having told us what they have done, and then you now tell us your aim and objective based on the gap you would have established. Because when you tell us what they have done, you tell us what they have not done, and then there is a gap established. Now you stylishly bring in your aim and objective into that same background of study, and then you now begin to tell us in a little way how you are going to do the work in a very light manner, if you so wish, and then the implication that it could give to us much later on. So this introduction has to be repackaged. This particular submission, only the title is correct. The work is not yet well structured. There is no title to show me exactly what I am reading. And besides that, the information contained is somehow incoherent. It's not coming together. So you need to look at the paragraph and then look at some that you delete. Some are just there adding unnecessary burden to the work, because when you write your introduction, okay, the first paragraph, the ending of the first paragraph must have a slight relationship with the beginning of the second paragraph. So you keep tying what you are saying and tying it until you put the final full stop in that background of study or in that introduction. So there should be no disjoint between the end of one paragraph and the beginning of another paragraph. It will show that the person has not settled down to put the work together in a manner that will go into repeatable journals. I wouldn't want to bore us this night. I also want to appreciate the organizers of this program for finding me worthy of coming back shortly today to give this brief remark about the work. Please, in the course of presenting it, if there is any way I've hurt your feeling or ruffled feathers, just forgive me. I'm a very playful person. I like using humor to drive down what I am teaching. I want to thank us so much again for this privilege. God bless us all.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hilary, for taking us through the exercise of yesterday. I believe we have all learned from it. And I also thank you for the opportunity given for those that have not done theirs to please do that and send. I wish to appreciate the presenter for today for what you have done. And I also want to find out if you will be available to also take in some of their submissions as relates to the literature review, so that we could have the first 10 minutes of tomorrow to go through that before we commence the activity of tomorrow. Will you be available, please?
Are you asking me or the other speaker?
Yeah. Okay. No, not you, Hilary.
I'll be very available.
Okay. In that case, please, can you put your email on the chat so that they will see it and know where to send?
I've done that, ma'am. I have done that. I've done that.
All right. Thank you. And we had, our day is fast spent. We have actually eventually spent longer than yesterday. I want to thank the presenter for doing a good job. I want to thank Hilary and Kingsley for carrying us through yesterday and today. I want to appreciate the presence of the Vice Chancellor as well as the DVCA TIR in this meeting of today. Thank you for creating the time to support the students and to support us in ensuring we provide the enabling environment for the students to write high impact journal publications. I want to appreciate Professor Mafiana. He was there throughout yesterday and he's here also. Professor Ofulwe, thank you. the Deputy Director, Dr. Vivian Waucha, our moderator for the day, Dr. Greg, and Dr. Julian Andunabu for bringing up this training and also coordinating it this far. Thank you so much for today, and see you again tomorrow at 8. And I hope tomorrow we'll try to stick to the time so that we can end earlier than this. Thank you and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done. Good night, everyone.
Yeah,
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. Good night.